God bless you, women of God. My name is Christen Smith from Matters of the Heart. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Pearl Talk Tuesday. Today we are going to be discussing moving from the background into the forefront. At a young age, I had this innate instinct that I was different. I knew that there was something that was different about me compared to the other children that I went to school with. And the fact that I was different made me self-conscious and it made me insecure. And so for a large majority of my life, I chose to hide. And I hid behind this desire to be normal. I didn't want to stand out or be noticed. I knew that to whom much was given, much would be required. And I was afraid of what that would mean for me. I was afraid that I would not be able to live up to those higher standards on a consistent basis. And more than anything, I was afraid that I would fail. And so I made a conscious effort to hide in the background. I intentionally made my presence smaller to accommodate people in my life that could not handle and did not understand the weight of destiny that I carried on my shoulders. I was content to stay in the background because it was comfortable, it was safe, it did not require for me to grow or to sacrifice. And so I buried myself there in the background, making it appear as if I was busy, as if I was moving and growing, all the while knowing that I was indeed stagnant. Meanwhile, God began to rearrange the people that were in my life. He took some people away and brought new people. And it was conversations that I had with some of the newer people that he brought into my life that really began to prepare me mentally and spiritually for the change that was to come. Now, change is inevitable, but it is also something that we should welcome. It is something that should be invited. If we are stagnant, if we are not changing, then in fact we are dying. We should be constantly growing and changing in our spiritual life. We should be maturing and becoming more like Christ each and every day. And a part of that maturing process is that we have to make the decision to step wholeheartedly into whatever it is that God has called us to do. So maybe you find yourself in a similar situation as I did. You know that God has called you to do more. You know that God has called you to be more, but you are afraid to step out of the background and into the forefront. So I just want to share with you a few tips, some things that I have used to help me through my own transition process over the past few years. The first and the most important is to seek and hear God's voice. When God begins to move, you must know with no doubt that it is Him that is calling you to the forefront. When you know deep down inside of your heart that God has called you to this next place in Him, then nothing can convince you otherwise. You understand that this is God's destiny for you, and you will be walking outside of the will of God should you not take the path that He has led. No matter how often or how strongly this belief is tested, you must hold on tightly to what it is that you know. Hold on tightly to what you know that God has spoken to you. If you are not convinced, then every time you hit a snag, encounter a trial, run into a roadblock, you will focus on the problem and you will want to give up. Do not allow a lack of conviction to lead you to abandon the mission to which God has called you to. If you are going to deal with change effectively and persevere through hardships, then you have to be convinced that you are walking according to the call that you have received from Christ. You have to be so convinced that no matter what happens, you will not quit. This conviction in your heart that God has called you to this place of transition will birth in you the determination to succeed regardless of personal cost. Secondly, you have to learn from where you have been. God builds upon what He has already completed. So by the time you and I realize and accept where God is calling us, then He has already prepared us for it. He prepares each of us differently, but I am sure that if you look back over your life, you will see His hand at work. In my case, He used my work history as a training ground. In my job as a physical therapy tech, He taught me how to care for others and how to work under adverse circumstances. In my job as a waitress, He taught me how to humble myself and to serve others. As a coach, I learned how to push other people. He taught me how to be encouraging and how to effectively strategize against the opposition. As a patient representative, He taught me how important hard work is. and that I am responsible for the perception that those that I come in contact with have of Christ. And currently, as the lead health information technologist for my company, I am learning to walk confidently and boldly into whatever my assignment may be. Everything that I have learned in the workforce, I have been able to apply to my spiritual journey. So take a moment, look back over your life, look at your past involvements, look at your past experiences, whether they be in ministry, in education, in social settings, or in a professional capacity. These are places of training and preparation. View those experiences as places where God was preparing you. He has been equipping you for the next level all along. And lastly, accept that God has chosen you for this assignment, and that you cannot be all that He needs of you by standing stagnant in the background. Many times, as we enter and begin to break into the forefront, we are tempted to feel overwhelmed. It seems so much bigger than what we are capable of or even deserve. Remember, it was not your choice that put you there. It was His choice. Romans 8:29 and 30 tells us that God knows exactly what it is that He is doing. And if He has placed you in this place of transition, then He has done so intentionally. You are predestined for this place. And if He has called you to be here, then He has also equipped you to be here. God calls all types of people to different tasks and different roles. One is not greater than the other. Everyone is given the grace and the ability to perform those tasks and those roles in their own lane. We must trust His wisdom and follow His lead, and learn to accept the decision that was ultimately God's and not yours. Anytime that you move forward with God, there comes a time where you finally have to go for it. You have to take that step of faith. This is a step beyond commitment, the step beyond decision making. It is when you finally put action to your calling. The Apostle James put it this way. He said in James 2:26, "For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also." So step out boldly from the background into the forefront. You can study, you can commit, you can decide all day long. But if you never step out in faith, it is all in vain. If God is saying to you, come on, take that step of bold faith, then know that He is ready and He is waiting to step with you. Always remember, God is faithful, and that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Jeremiah 1 tells us that before we existed, God had already planned out our lives in such a way that people would see His glory through us. Each one of you watching this video have gifts and have talents of your own. And somewhere, someone is waiting on what is on the inside of you. They are waiting on you to move from your comfortable spot in the background and step into the forefront of your destiny. Over the past few years, I have stepped from the shadows into more of the light, and I challenge you to do the same. Do not wait years as I did. Instead, begin today. Begin this week. Begin by igniting your passion or rekindling the flame that is burning inside of you. The world is waiting for you to step into the forefront. Thank you, Father, for the gifts, passions, and talents that you have blessed us with. Some of us have allowed the opinions of others to make us hide our gifts in the shadowy background, and some of us have been afraid to pursue them. Give us the confidence that we need. Surround us with the people that have our best interests at heart. Give us the discernment to notice when the enemy is trying to extinguish our flame, and give us the strength to withstand the pressure to fold. We know that you have predestined, that you have called, and that you have equipped us, and we know that our life and our gifts exist solely for you to get the glory. We do not take that fact lightly, and we are humbled to know that you trust us not only in the background, but also in the forefront. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Pearl Talk Tuesday. Until next time, live long, laugh often, love hard, and dream big. Don't forget to check out my blog at www.christenjsmith.wordpress.com. We'll see you next time.